is why you should never sneak out. Back in 2010, a young kid went to go sleep over at his cousin's house. It was getting late and they were both pretty bored, so they decided to sneak out. They quietly opened the back door and left. As they were walking, they decided to stop by at a 7-Eleven to get some snacks. Once they walked in, the cashier looked at them and said, "You should be careful walking around this late at night." They said, "We will," and went on their way. As they were walking, one of them noticed a man standing completely still out in the distance. All of a sudden, the man looked up and made a "come here" gesture with his hands. They got terrified and started running in the opposite direction. After 5 minutes of running, they stopped to catch their breath. Then all of a sudden, one of them started screaming out in horror. Right behind them was the exact same man. Like for part 2. This is why you should never sneak out. Part 2. Right behind them was the exact same man. They screamed in horror as they watched the man start waving at them with a disturbing smile on his face. One of them said, "I'm calling the police," but all of a sudden the man stopped smiling and got an angry look on his face. He started screaming at them, saying things like, "I'm gonna kill you." They got terrified, so they ran as fast as they possibly could down the street. As they got a pretty good distance away, one of them turned around and screamed in fear. The man was chasing after him, but this time he had a knife in his hand. They started running through people's front and backyards, trying to do whatever it takes to get home. As they got into their neighborhood, they looked around and noticed that the man was gone. They ran home and called the police. The police started searching for the man, but he was never caught.
This is why you should always listen to the rules. Annie never listened in class. She was never paying attention and all her teachers refused to teach her, so Annie had to be homeschooled. One day she was in the garden learning maths, but Annie got distracted and started making up a dance instead. Her tutor had warned her not to dance by the pool, but Annie never listens. Annie fell in the water, but her tutor didn't realize and pressed the shutters, trapping Annie inside. He looked for Annie for hours, but they didn't find Annie until her mother made a glass of water and saw her eyes staring back at her from her cup.